All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And what a phenomenal audience, particularly for Sunday night, which is not when we normally do webinars. Obviously, you are here, many of you are here because you have followed our webinars for some time. Perhaps you're part of a team or business that we're currently building. Perhaps you're not necessarily part of our team, but you have followed us from that particular company. And of course, anything that we do going forward, we always want to make sure that people are honoring the genealogical line, genealogical integrity, genealogical character is paramount. I'm sorry, someone is asking me to put up what number to call in. Give me just a moment. Can someone help me on your end? I can see the dial-in number, but everyone's got the access code that I have. I can see the dial-in number, but the access code that I have may be different from the access code that you have. Can someone put in for me, please, what your access code is? The dial-in number should be the same, but your access code might be different than what I have. Let's make sure that's right. 213-493. Okay, thank you. And give me a moment. One moment. 307 235 492. All right, give me one moment. Let me text this to someone real quickly, please. Almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your patience. 1213 493 0005. And the pin again is, or access is, one moment, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. And while I'm apologizing, while I am repenting, let's repent again for last evening. Some of you, there was a mistake that was made when we were setting up the webinar schedule. Our intent was to be here tonight. It was not to be here on last night. And yet on the webinar schedule, last night, 7 p.m. was listed for a webinar. And a good number of you showed up, and then I get a text saying, hey, we're here waiting on you. It was about 7:20 Eastern when I got that text. Thank you, Venetia, for getting in touch with me. And so we got on. There was still a good number of you that were here, so I do apologize if you got on last night with the intent of getting information. Hopefully you weren't sitting by twiddling your thumbs until 7 p.m. Eastern. If so, again, please accept my sincere apologies. All right, before we get into tonight's information, I want to make it very clear again. I want to make it very, very, very clear again, because sometimes people can take what you say and not thoroughly understand what you said, or they hear something through the grapevine, and what they heard through the grapevine wasn't what you said. All right, let's make this very clear. I love the revenue sharing compensation model, okay? And many of you are aware that I am currently promoting a company that has a revenue sharing compensation model. The latest I've heard, I've got the biggest, what that company refers to as credit totals in that particular company. And as a matter of fact, not yesterday, but on the previous weekend, we showed our back office so you guys could see. We're well now over 200,000 credits. And so I am not going. Can I make that any more clear? I am not going. I'll try it one last time. I am not going anywhere. Anyone who says anything to the contrary is not telling you the full story. Is not telling you the truth. Okay? And it doesn't mean that they're not a truth teller, but it just means that I want you to hear from my lips that I'm not leaving. I haven't left that company. I'm not going anywhere from that company. I did share in a webinar, and we sent the audio links out, what our role is with that company. Okay, I am not going anywhere. Period. Let's make sure we understand that. Number two. I want to thank the person who sent an email to me with a YouTube earlier today, and I'll hit this real quickly. I want to also make sure that you understand that this company that we are embracing as another part of our income producing portfolio, that, yes, they will have a revenue sharing model. They will feature, won't be the only product line, but they will feature product lines like skincare, like weight loss, like energy, like vitality. Now, I know that there are companies out there, and I've been a part of companies that would lead their presentations off with things like, hey, no lotions, potions, and motions. None of that stuff over here. We are, a service-based company, and no lotions and motions and potions. And I have said that in times past. I want to show you something. Give me just a moment. I have said that in times past. Man, I don't want anything to do with lotions and potions and what have you. Give me just a moment. Doggone it. What happened to it? I'm sorry. If my mom is on the webinar, she's going to get me for saying doggone it on a live webinar. Give me just a moment. There we go. That should do it. You should see this in just a moment. All right. So someone sent me a video, and in the video, the gentleman was talking about industries like the network marketing industry, and then talking about different niches within that industry. And the point that they were making is just how big travel is, and travel is absolutely huge. Travel is a $7 trillion with a T, $7 trillion with a T, $7 trillion industry. And I would imagine that is much bigger. I don't know what the wellness space or the skincare space, what that actually means in terms of the entire industry. So I don't know if travel trumps that or not. What we do know is that travel is very fun to talk about, and which is why I love the company that I have and continue to promote for. Before we added what we're going to talk about to our portfolio. Actually, we haven't even added it yet because it hasn't even gone into pre-launch. We will be adding it once it does. Because that particular company I currently promote for has a travel component. Travel is really fun to talk about. However, as big as travel is, and when we look at our industry, and this is what Dave was talking about, because we do a lot of study, we do a lot of analytics. When we look at our industry, and as I had to back up a few months ago, many of you are familiar why we had to back up a few months ago. A few months ago, we were involved with a company that had a revenue sharing model. It was based on a penny auction. We were doing phenomenally well. Some of you were doing phenomenally well. And all of a sudden, it came to an abrupt halt. And when that came to that abrupt halt, we had to go back and punt. We had to go back and really start to take a look at the industry again and renew our perspective. Our perspective had gotten a little jaded because we did so well. We made so much money. So many of you made so much money. And so when we go back and we take a look at what companies in our space have proven their models, okay, we see that the top 14 companies in terms of producing revenue, and admittedly this chart, there's probably many places we could go online and we could probably find a different chart, at different sites. But what we find is that out of the top 14 revenue producing companies, doesn't mean they have a revenue sharing compensation model, because none of these companies, to my knowledge, have a revenue sharing compensation model. But revenue producing companies, meaning Avon produces, in 2011, they produced $11.3 billion in global sales. When we say revenue, we're not talking net profit. We're talking about sales. And then obviously from sales, they pay out commissions, and they've got, they're paying their manufacturers or what have you. And then you wind up with a net profit, whatever that number happens to be. Okay. When you look at this list, ladies and gentlemen, there's only 2 on here that are more service-oriented. Now, there are a couple of these I'm not familiar with, but just looking at their main products, I'm comfortable in saying there's only 2 on here that are service-oriented. Avon Products is a consumable product-oriented company. Amway, consumer products. Natura, consumer products. Herbalife, consumer products. Tupperware, consumable products. Forever Living, consumable products. Mary Kay, consumable products. This one here It says appliances and services and has cosmetics. Not sure about that one. I don't know who that company is. This one here, number 9, consumable products, cosmetics, personal care, wellness, new skin, consumable products. Primerica, little bit different, financial-based products, but those financial-based products do lend themselves to habitual purchasing in the form of a life insurance policy that you're paying monthly on, or a mutual fund, or some type of investment like an annuity, so on and so forth. This is the first company that we see in the service space. Then you see USANA, consumable-based company. ACN, now we see a telecommunications company. Now, once upon a time, Excel might have been on here, but they're no longer, okay? And then Isogenics, consumable product. So I want us to understand that one of the things that as we were looking at adding an additional element to our income producing portfolio is we had to come back and we had to look at the space, our direct selling, our network marketing, our multi-level marketing, our internet marketing, whatever you want to call that. We had to look at that space and see in our space what companies have already proven that their product or service could be really, 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 really big time. Why? Because if we're going to be a part of a revenue sharing compensation model, we now understand, we got jaded for a while, we now understand it's got to be about more than just the affiliate making a purchase of a package. It's got to be about more than affiliate buying samples of bids, or even with this company, consumables. Ultimately, the customer, there's got to be an end user customer that loves the product, wants the product, whether or not they ever see any income. And that's what we see with all these companies here. People buy Avon that have nothing to do with the income opportunity. They buy Amway products, Natura products, Herbalife products that have nothing to do with the income opportunity. So while that person sent me that video, and I think they were trying to say, hey, don't we need to make sure that travel is the feature? Well, travel might be a part of this additional income stream, whether it is or isn't. And I'm certainly not going to ever foo-fooey on travel. Okay, whether it is or isn't. One of the reasons I want you to see why I'm embracing this particular model that will be going into the pre-launch pre-registration is because of this study here. Haven't done this study. Okay, now with that being said, let's start to go to work. Okay, let's start to go to work. Now, if you haven't figured this out by now, I'm not the 20-minute, 30-minute webinar dude. All right, I'm not the person that is more concerned about shortening the presentation as I am concerned about my audience understanding. Now, this is not a presentation. This is more of a training. This is assuming that you already understand some parts of the revenue sharing space. Many of you have already been involved with companies in the revenue sharing space. Many of you have made money in that space. Some of you, unfortunately, maybe haven't just yet for whatever reason. And so what I want to make sure for those of you that are looking to maybe perhaps add, just because I'm adding this to my portfolio doesn't mean you have to. You're big boys and big girls. I want to show you why I'm doing it and what my thinking is behind it. So tonight, while we'll start to talk about compensation, I'm really going to focus more on ideology. Now, part of that is because there are still some parts of the compensation which I am looking, which you guys can't see. I am looking at the compensation plan policy right in front of my computer, but there's some parts of that I know that the management team is still clearing through their consultants and their attorneys. So I'm not going to focus so much on percentages and things like that. As a matter of fact, write this one down. I heard this. I'm saying it a little bit differently than what I heard it, but write this one down. Behavior trumps percentages. Behavior. The culture that we will develop and the culture that you develop with any team you build, leveraging any company that you may leverage. the behavior that you and your teammates have will trump the percentages. In other words, you take a company that pays out higher percentages to the field. All right, you take a company that pays out higher percentages to the field, but they have no momentum. Nobody's really excited about what's going on. Maybe because the product is not that good. Maybe because of the compensation, how it's structured is not that good. Maybe because they do a good job of appealing to the big fish, the big guy, Joe and Susie superstar, but they don't do a good enough job appealing to the smaller guy, Joe and Susie average. Or the reverse could be true. They do a good job of appealing to Joe and Susie average, but they don't do a good job of appealing to the bigger networker. And so you take a company that pays out higher percentages to the field, but they have no momentum, and you compare that to a company that has a culture or behavior, has a culture or the right behavior, that company will win. Now, what do I mean by that? There is a company right now, they do not have a revenue sharing compensation model, okay? And the company that we've seen over the past 10 years that by far, not even close, that grew the most, the quickest, that generated the most revenue the quickest, that their affiliates or representatives or whatever you want to call them made the most money the quickest, is a company that's no longer here. They happen to have a revenue sharing compensation model. Many of you are familiar with that particular company. Now, the company that would probably be number two in terms of in the last decade in this home business space, in this multi-level marketing space, and we can even pare it down maybe to the last 5 years. What company be outside of a company that had a revenue sharing compensation model? What company has grown the most, had more sales, to the bottom line in terms of a new company hitting the marketplace? And it would be a company that's actually in the weight loss space that, to be honest with you, I've heard about this company. I've heard a lot of people talk about this company, but when I looked at their compensation model, I wasn't moved at all. I looked at their PDF that showed how they paid out, and it was just a simple unilevel plan, and it didn't seem to offer any great upfront bonuses. And excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a little tired there, because that's how tired the compensation plan appeared to be on the surface. So how is it that this weight loss, this company that promotes weight loss, by the way, I'm talking about a company called Visalis. How is it that this company that promotes weight loss, that tired, on the surface, when you look at their percentages, it just looks like just a regular old company in the wellness space that's got some unilevel plan that pays through maybe 8 levels and a few little extra little. Didn't seem like anything exciting until you talk with a couple of their leaders, or until you check out the fact that that company has generated the right culture and the right behavior that rewards people for producing. And that's what I want to start to lay a foundation for tonight. I want to talk about structure. We'll make sure you understand revenue sharing. Many of you already understand that, so I won't spend a lot of time there. But I'm going to focus more on structure and developing a culture of having the right behavior than I do on percentages, because some of the percentages are still under review by the consultants and attorneys and so on and so forth. Now, before I go that route, I want to do a couple of polls, and I want all of you to vote, okay? This is going to assist me as I go through that. So the first poll you're going to see, you should see this pop up in just a few moments. If you feel like you've got a pretty good understanding of the revenue sharing model, how that works. I understand that the company takes a percentage of its daily revenues, maybe as much as 50%. They put that into a pool, and all qualified affiliates, whether they are recruiters of affiliates or not, whether they're Joe Average or not, Joe and Susie Star, Joe and Susie Superstar, they all get a pro rata share based on what that company has deemed to be their daily actionable items. Maybe placing an ad, giving away samples, so on and so forth. Okay, fantastic. All right, so most of you are very, very familiar with that model. Okay, fantastic. All right, so next poll. Give me a moment. All right, you're going to see another poll pop up here. Whoops. Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right. Next poll. I understand how a binary system works. I understand how a binary model works. Again, I'd like to see everyone vote. Everyone vote. While I'm seeing you voting, a binary is one of those compensation models where you sponsor essentially two, for the most part, you sponsor two affiliates in order for you to be able to qualify for the compensation. There's no limit to the depth payout. So there's no 5 level, 6 level, 7 level, 10 level payout system. It goes to an unlimited depth. It's all volume based. It's all volume based. So what happens is you refer one on the left, because you only have a two-legged team, one on the left, one on the right. You have whatever your volume is for your monthly subscription or your monthly auto ship or whatever it is you're purchasing, plus any of your customers. Same thing happens on your left-hand side, your right-hand side. And then typically what happens is you get paid once you have so much volume. Now, some companies say, hey, you get a percentage of the least producing leg. Some companies say that you get a payout once you have so much volume on the left leg and then so much volume on the right leg, so on and so forth. So if that's for the 29% of you that said, I don't understand a binary compensation model. 71% of you said, yes, I understand a compensation model. 100% of you said, I understand a revenue sharing model. Again, this goes to what I'm going to share on creating the right behavior and then understanding what this company is going to do a little bit differently from creating the right behavior. And then you will also see some similarities as well. Okay, all right, so now let's go to the next one. I've got two more here. Okay. All right, if you would vote for me, please. I understand how a unilevel works. I understand how a unilevel works. And let me just make some quick notes based on the results of the poll that I'm seeing. So 100% said you understood revenue sharing. And then 71% understood a binary. And now it looks like about 68% of you, let's get everyone voting, 67% understand the unilevel. All right, and I tell you what, before I go into any further discussion about a unilevel, then I'll do the next poll. I'm going to give you all of 10 seconds to vote in 9, 8, vote please, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so 64% was the number. 64% says, I understand a unilevel. That means obviously 36% said no. 71% said, I understand a binary. 29% said no. 100% said, I understand a revenue sharing model. Once we cover some things there, some of you would probably come back and say, oh, I didn't understand that about revenue sharing. But 100% say, at least I know enough about how it works. And let's do one last one here. We'll do one last one. Let's close that one. All right, this is the last one. I understand how a matrix works. I understand how a matrix works. I understand how a matrix works. If everyone would vote. Wow. I appreciate everyone lending your, wow, almost all of you voted. Give it just a couple more seconds here. So everyone says, I know how a revenue sharing model works. 71% of you said, I know how a binary model works. Give it a few more seconds here. 64% said, I know how a unilevel model works. That's interesting. I would have thought that number would have been a little bit higher, because that unilevel model is probably one of the ones that's been around the longest that regulators actually like the best. I didn't include something like a stair-step breakaway. We don't see those as often as we used to. Those were made very, very popular. It might have been other companies, but companies like Excel made those types of plans very, very popular. And for a spell, those were extremely popular. Okay, we're going to give it another 10 seconds and 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so 86% of you said, I understand how a matrix works. 14% of you said, no, not quite. Okay, all right, very important. Thank you for what we're going to do here tonight. That poll is still open. That poll still open. Bear with me. I made a, oh man. Give me a moment. I just did something. I clicked out of my poll. That should do it. Okay. Whew. Okay, so that should close it. Okay, all right, good. Okay, all right. Again, keep this in mind that behavior and culture, or I should say the culture of behavior, trumps percentages. Now, I'm going to open up my questions box, and I want your assistance, okay? I want you to help me on tonight's webinar. I'm going to open up your questions box. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, sorry. You guys weren't seeing my screen for a moment. All right, so the culture of behavior trumps percentages. I'm going to open up your questions box. Now, here's what we know. Here's what we know that I can share confidently. This particular company is going to have at its core compensation plan a revenue sharing compensation plan. All right? Most of us, 100% of you said, hey, I know how that works. Company generates its revenue, puts up to 50% of that revenue into a pot, shares with all of the qualified affiliates on a daily basis. There's normally some very small qualifiers. This allows everyone to win, and this is why we saw a company a little more than about 2 years ago that came out with this model. Now, this model had been in the marketplace before. There's nothing new under the sun. But it hadn't really been in the marketplace the way they did it. They did it in a way that no one else had done. And so this model came out a couple of years ago. I was very fortunate that my buddy Ron Davis referred this model to me, and I joined with he and his team about 2 months into it, and we had a phenomenal run. Now, we understand that this compensation model, this revenue sharing compensation model, is undergoing an evolution. It's undergoing an evolution. What we first saw, when we first saw this model years ago, when you hear Dave say, hey, we saw this model, 6-7 years ago, we first saw this model primarily dealing in the advertising space, where affiliates would purchase advertising, and then they'd be able to promote whatever it is they were promoting, whatever website or blog or whatever you wanted to promote. And then we even saw one company that did a very good job of this, where they actually would go to local merchants, and local merchants would purchase advertising. Having nothing to do with the compensation model, local merchants would purchase advertising the affiliates, in order to make money, would have to view so many advertisements per day. That's how I first saw this type model back, and I think I first saw it in 2006 is when I saw, no, excuse me, that's not right. I think I first saw this model in 2008, in 2008. All right, the ones that dealt with advertising, they generated massive revenues, but again, we were in an evolutionary, just kind of getting that model started, ran into some regulatory issues. Then we saw some of those companies come online, offering that advertising model more online as opposed to offline. Then we saw 2 years ago companies come out with like a penny auction. And of course, many of you are familiar with one main company that did that with the penny auction. Then we saw other companies that launched a model, revenue sharing with the penny auction. Now what we've begun to see is begun to see companies that come out with, that may still have an auction, but that's not their only income stream. They may have travel in the mix. They may have a shopping mall in the mix. They may have other things in the mix. What is this called? An evolution. Same thing that we saw in the binary compensation model. It took a little time for it to evolve, but we saw an evolution in the binary compensation model. Now, this model that we're about to, at least I can't speak for you, that I'm going to be adding once the pre-launch pages come up. I'll be registering and letting the world, or at least letting my personals know that follow me, what I'm doing, and they'll let their folks know and what have you, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day. I'm not leaving anything that I'm currently doing. I'm not stopping any income stream that I currently have. But one of the reasons I'm embracing this model is because I believe they're taking that evolution to a next step. That next step is offering consumables for samples. We've discussed this before, but I just want to make sure if you're coming here for the first time, you have an understanding as to why we're promoting this particular company. Consumables. We know that companies that offer consumables have been the ones that have stood the test of time in this industry. Companies that offered products that were consumed and then they were repurchased and then they were consumed and they were repurchased and consumed and repurchased. Those are the companies that have built the largest sales revenues. Now think about this. So we're promoting a revenue sharing compensation model where the company is going to put up to 50% of all of its daily commissionable revenue into a pool. So doesn't it make sense that we look at companies and look at the companies that are faring the best revenue-wise? What are they doing? What's their product lines? You see, does that starting to connect some dots there? Okay. All right. So when I see that Avon does $11 billion and the product base, not just service-oriented, Amway does $9.2 billion and the product base, not just service-oriented, this starts to make a lot of sense to me. When I further see that this group has consulted with a very profitable affiliate, professional affiliate marketing group, and that affiliate marketing group is marketing products like skincare, marketing products like weight loss. And when I see that affiliate marketing group without any recruits, in 1 month, they marketed and made $68,000 from their skincare marketing. Now, there were other things they marketed, but that's what garnered the most money for them. And that at the end of that one particular month, they generated $117,000 in gross sales as this affiliate marketing group. Now, they did have about $75,000 that they put out in advertising. They did have about $75,000 that they put out in advertising. Most of us can't go out with a $75,000 a month advertising budget, okay? So they netted about $42,000 for the month, which as a return on their investment on their advertising dollars is still a phenomenal return. They got all of their money back, their $75,000 they put out in advertising, and netted about $42,000 in profits. But what were they marketing? They were marketing consumable-based products. Okay, now let's go back to the revenue sharing part here, okay? What we need to understand about revenue sharing they're sharing a portion of their revenue. Well, where is the revenue derived from? Well, obviously, we've got affiliates making purchases. Early on in any MLM company that I've seen, there will probably be more weighted where affiliates are making more purchases, even if it's a service-oriented company, early on, because nobody knows, the general consuming public knows nothing about the company just yet. When are they going to start learning about the company? As we, the affiliates, start getting the words out. Whether that getting the word out is by having a home party, or doing some internet marketing, or putting it on your blog, or placing an ad a day, or what have you. Okay, so affiliates making purchases is a very vital part of revenue that any company, having a revenue sharing compensation model or no, that any company is going to look. They want we affiliates to be products of the product. However, if that's the sole source of revenue, or over time, if that source of revenue coming just from affiliates is making up too much of the company's revenues, that will not be looked upon by the regulators very well. By the way, someone sent me an email the other day, and they were questioning the current business that we're promoting, which is only pre-launched like mid-October. They did some, soft launch in mid-October. Someone's had this question that someone brought to them. They said, "Hey, that company, right now, they're, would they be in any regulatory problems? Because right now, they're not sending out products to the consumers." All right, and my answer to them is, well, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a while before any regulator comes and knocks on the door. Will the regulators come and knock on the door at some point if the company does very well? Yes, and that doesn't mean the company's done anything wrong. But let me tell you, being from the other side, I've been a part owner of a company, all right? What these regulators, when they come in, they like to come in and find something. It's almost like, don't beat me up if you happen to be an auto mechanic. It's almost like when you take your car to the shop. You think they're going to find something? And they're going to always find something, right? You took it in for an oil change, but they're going to find something. Maybe that something is there, maybe it's not. They're going to find something. Don't beat me up, auto mechanics, okay? When Mr. Regulator comes in, he's going to find something he doesn't like. And he's going to say, oh, you need to change this, you need to change that. Oh, by the way, here's a fine. So they don't normally like to even mess with you until you got enough money in their coffers where they can come in and give you a nice size fine. By the way, the owner or the former owner of that company that had a revenue sharing model, did we hear that he had a fine to pay to the tune of like $4 million? See, they like to come after you got some money. Okay. Plus, it takes them a while to, if they're going to come and if they're going to cause a major problem, it takes a while for them to gather all the information and what have you. Okay. So, but my point in saying that is, virtually every company in this industry, whether they have a revenue sharing compensation model or not, earlier on, they will have affiliates making larger percentage of the purchases than the customers do. However, over time, we need to see more and more and more customers making purchases to level that out so that the regulators are appeased. That's why I'm excited about what this company is going to be doing, because when I look at the fact that they're going to be giving away samples, getting a physical product in the hands of the consumer, so the consumer can test and try the product. Ooh, I like the skincare. I like the vitality product. Oh, I'm losing some weight. And that a customer then comes back and purchases more. That lends itself to more customers now knowing about the product, now using the product, maybe even referring the product, even though they're not part of the income opportunity, so that more products get sold. And we start to have, earlier than other revenue sharing models that we've seen, perhaps, we start to have more customers engaging sooner. Very important. Where else does revenue come from? All right. Revenue can also come from monthly subscriptions. As a matter of fact, monthly subscriptions are a huge part of any company in this industry. Whether that monthly subscription, some companies don't have a monthly subscription, but they have volume requirements. Let's say like a lot of nutritional companies. They don't make you get on auto ship, but their compensation plan is structured in such a way that in order for you to participate in the compensation plan, you have to be responsible for a certain amount of monthly volume. And it's easier for you to get on auto ship and have a monthly debit than it is for many people to go out and sell enough product to qualify for the compensation model. So even though a lot of nutritional companies don't have a monthly subscription per se, I'm going to lump all of that in the same category. Whether it is a company that has a monthly subscription where there isn't an auto ship product per se, and you're getting something for the monthly subscription, but the company is also generating revenues from the monthly subscription. Now, for instance, I'm told that there was a revenue sharing model that had about 500,000 paying subscribers. And they had a number of different subscriptions. They had a $10 a month and a $50 a month and a $100 a month. Let's now, obviously, you've got some folks at 10, you got some folks at 50, you got some folks at 100. Let's say that the average was at 50. I don't know what the average was. But if you had 500,000, if you had 500,000 affiliates on a $50 a month on average subscription, you're generating, that's a comma, 1, 2. That would be generating, if I did that right, that would be generating hold on, let me make sure I got that right. Is that 25 million? That would be generating, looks like 25 million a month. 25 million a month. Now, obviously, a company that has a monthly subscription, tied to that monthly subscription is some payout to the field, okay? Obviously, that monthly subscription may also include, subscription includes some type of service or some type of product that the affiliate is getting. So the company's got to offset that. It's got to factor that in when they're doing the compensation plan. But this is what I want you to get, that a portion of that 25 million with that company's being an example. And again, these are I heard the 500,000. This part right here, the $50 a month, I don't know if it was higher or lower than that as in terms of an average. Some people were at $10 a month, some were at 50, some were at 100. All right, but you can imagine that out of that 25 million a month, the company nets some really good funds there once everything is paid out. Would a portion of that, or could a portion of that, go into the daily revenue? Say it with me, yes. So is that monthly subscription important? Is that monthly subscription to the long-term health of any revenue sharing compensation model, is that monthly subscription important? Say it with me. Yes. Okay. Now, I mention those as the top two only because that's what most companies that have a revenue sharing model are going to initially start off with. But understand that these other ones I'm about to mention are immensely important, not only to the long-term health of the company and the long-term health of any revenue sharing model, but also at some point I know we may have to answer to Mr. Regulator, and we want to make sure that we can pass that regulatory test, okay? All right, number three would be product or services movement. In other words, now someone buys something. Let's say a customer buys a product. So with what we're going to see with this company is people are going to be able to get, by the way, be mindful. When you see this RV up here, this is not the company that we're promoting. This was just an example to show you how we'll get customers registered for free, and then how they'll be able to take the next step and actually get a physical sample of some of our featured products. Okay, featured products: skincare, weight loss, energy, vitality. Skincare, weight loss, energy, vitality won't be the only products, won't be the only industries that we're involved in, but that's going to be the feature. Okay, all right. So let's go back here. So what happened is someone got the sample, customer. They then want to reorder because they like the product. They come back into our system and they can order the skincare. Now, will we be able to give that customer what some of us are used to calling them dollars? This company will refer to them as bucks, so that that customer gets a dollar for dollar discount, so that it incentivizes them to make another purchase. Will we be able to give away bucks? Yes. However, the customer, in most cases, the customer will still outlay some additional funds. So maybe it's a $50 product. I don't know exactly what the percentages are going to be. I'm sure they're going to change with each company, with each product, because of because of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Because of the profit on each particular product, or because of the markup on each particular product. Okay. All right. So let's say it's a $50 product, and the customer can use $25, 25 of these bucks that you can give away as a dollar for dollar discount. So they whip out their credit card for a $25 purchase. All right. You and I bought the $25 that we gave to the customer. So that was some revenue for the company, and of course they're going to reward us with points. Some of us have referred to those as being credits. If I say credits or points or credits, I'm talking about the same thing. What goes into your bonus pool, your daily bonus pool. All right. But then if that customer actually transacted, and so there's going to be money there that comes into the company's coffers. All right. And let me just share a few ancillary things. All right. Product or service movement. But then you also have a lot of ancillary services or ancillary products. All right. That can generate revenues for companies. You know, when a company, it used to be, for instance, in the telecommunication space, you join XL, you join ACN, okay? And what happened when you joined those companies is you didn't have a monthly auto ship. You didn't have a monthly subscription, or did you? Because typically what happened was you had to have so many customer points, and one of the ways that your leader told you to get customer points was to get this upgraded back office system through the company for $19.95 a month. That $19.95 was not commissionable in the regular form of the compensation plan. That $19.95 was not commissionable so they didn't say, hey, we're going to pay this $19.95 through a binary or a matrix or a unilevel or what have you. But that generated revenues for the company. Okay? Now, if the company, because the company generated revenues, if the company then wanted to have some type of contest, or a company wanted to increase their compensation payout, or the company wanted to have a car bonus program, the fact that they did not directly commission out that $19.95 a website system that they weren't directly paying commissions on, the fact that they weren't commissioning it out directly didn't mean that the company did not look at that the fact that they had 100,000 folks at $20 a month that they didn't have to pay commissions on, generating, what is that, 20 million? I don't know what that number happens to be, okay? So 20 million a month coming in, couldn't the company then take that 20 million and say, hey, we're going to have a car bonus program, or hey, we're going to have a bonus pool for top leaders? In other words, even though it never got directly commissioned out in the form of looking at the PDF document and looking at of the online document that says, hey, the company pays so many percent through so many levels in a unilevel or what have you, the fact that the company made money on these ancillary services meant the company generated more revenue, and the company in some form or fashion would typically redirect some of that revenue to things that would impact the field, that would keep the field motivated. And so we would see companies that would do things like this. They'd have a website. You know, everybody would get you a regular website, but if you wanted some special things on the back end, then you paid a little extra more per month. And if you multiply that, and the company wasn't directly commissioning that out, if you multiply that times 10,000 reps, then 50,000 reps, then 100,000 reps. That became a nice piece. Then companies would have things like sales aides. So now you go in your back office, and maybe you wanted to buy some sales aides. Okay, well, typically what the company would do, and again, I was on the other side. I was a part owner of a company. What the company would typically do is they would have some sales aides made up, and maybe it cost them, for this brochure or for this newspaper thing that, promotes the company, what have you. Maybe it costs them 50 cents a copy, but they're selling it for $1 a copy to the field. Does that generate revenue? Yes. Does the company directly commission that out? No, not directly. They don't put it in a unilevel and say, hey, we're going to pay 8 levels unilevel. Or they don't put it in the binary and say, hey, when you get so many of these sales aid sage, we're going to, no, they don't do that. But is that revenue that the company generates, and because of that revenue the company generates, they're able to apply some of that to maybe other parts of the compensation, or do other contests or things that keep the field motivated. What I'm saying to you is that we want to see revenue sharing companies have ancillary services that maybe don't get commission out directly, but in many cases, these companies are going to be looking at the overall revenue, not just revenue from affiliates making purchases, while that's a significant piece, not just revenue from a monthly subscription, while that's a significant piece, not just revenue from product and service movement, while that's a very important piece, not only for the long-term health of the company, but also from a regulatory standpoint. But what about all the ancillary services? There could be a number of ancillary services. That's why you go to some of the more established companies and you go in the back office, and they've got everything from sales aids to apparel to what have you. Well, yeah, they want you to promote the sale. They want you to use the sales aids to promote the business with. Yeah, they want you to wear their brand on that polo shirt. All right, but there's also revenue that's being generated from those. And what I want you to understand is, with a revenue sharing company that has a revenue sharing model, they're going to be looking at a lot of sources of revenue that they may have. Now, how many of you really understand a revenue sharing compensation model? A little bit more in depth. Okay, now, the reason I bring this up, there's going to be a revenue sharing compensation model that we already know and understand. Company's going to share up to 50%. All right, of its daily revenue, of its daily commissionable revenue, and put it into a pool. All right. Now, here's one of the big things that we've seen in companies that have a revenue sharing model. Okay, there is typically a monthly subscription. How does the company look to pay commissions on that monthly subscription? How does the company look to pay commissions on that monthly subscription? By the way, understanding this is very, very key. Understanding the long-term health of a revenue sharing compensation model is very, very key. There's a big piece that goes into that monthly subscription. That's a big piece. All right. Now, remember, the culture of behavior is what will drive the model, not just percentages. Now, let's ask a few questions. Okay? All right. There was a company, the biggest of the big in the revenue sharing space, and they paid their monthly subscription through a matrix. Any of you that were with that company that started with a Z, in your questions box, just put a Y. If you were with that company that started with a Z, if you were with them, just put a Y. Bunch of you. Okay? Let's stop. If you haven't put your Y in yet, you can stop. Let's stop. Okay? Now, monthly subscriptions got paid out. That company monthly subscriptions got paid out in the matrix. You know what? Before I go there, I need to do this. I need to give you some pluses and minuses of these models. Okay, I want to give you some real quick pluses and minuses. And again, I want you to get this so that when you do, I can't really cover percentages so much tonight because some of those are still being worked on. I see the compensation plan policy, but the consultants and the attorneys still have to sign off on it. Here we go. Let's do this real quickly. Someone tell me on a since we said matrix, on a matrix, someone tell me in your questions box what's positive about a matrix. What do you like about a matrix? Those of you that the 86% of you that said, "Hey, I know what a matrix is. What do you like about a matrix?" Okay, and I'm going to give you some of the responses I'm seeing. Somebody said fast money. Someone said spillover. Someone said forced, and that forced means that generates some spillover. Let's see what else we have. All right, someone said, they said everyone can make money from a team effort. Now, while they said that, I'm going to put a big question mark there. Okay? Does that happen for everyone is my question. Does that happen from everyone? Obviously, it does. A matrix does foster team effort, but does that happen for everyone? Okay? Someone put no recruiting. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's talk about behavior. If the message is, hey, we got a revenue sharing model, which obviously we all understand that model does lend itself to people being able to join, never recruiting an affiliate, and still making money. And that is where you have such a huge draw of the revenue sharing space. Typically, when a compensation plan is being designed, what the folks that are designing it, what they want to do is they want to find a way to incentivize, I don't know if I'm spelling this right, or incent, let's just call it, to incent the average person to join and stay engaged. Nothing has done that better than a revenue sharing model. We saw so many people who said, I'm not good at recruiting, I'm not good at sponsoring, I'm not good at selling, but I'll join and I'll purchase a package and I'll have my monthly subscription and I'll do at least the minimum that I need to continue to make money. So that will incent the average person to join and stay engaged, even if that engagement doesn't mean that they're coming on every webinar and they're actively going out and speaking and promoting the business as such. Engagement was, hey, they placed an ad each day, and that did help to get the name out. That did help the company get up the Alexa ranking, so on and so forth. So you want to find a way to incent that average person to join and stay engaged, by doing some small daily activity. We saw the revenue sharing compensation plan do that. We also want to incent the big builder to join and stay engaged. We want the big builder to join and stay engaged. Well, I'm going to tell you, if the big builder sees that he or she has a system that incents the average person to join and stay engaged, then that becomes a huge plus for a big builder, because big builders understand that their revenues are going to be based on them building a network of not only of affiliates, but then people who actually get the product out in the marketplace. And if the average person comes and they quit in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the big builder knows that he or she's going to be on a recruiting treadmill, and they're tired of that. This is why we've decided the last couple of years our main focus in this industry will be with companies that have a revenue sharing compensation model, because we see that our average dudette can join and stay engaged. Making your monthly subscription payment is staying engaged. That's because that's the problem. In most companies, you get someone to join, they're on auto ship, they have a monthly subscription for a month or two or three, and then they quit. In the revenue sharing space, we saw people have a monthly membership at what they could afford to get started with, and they stayed engaged at least by making that monthly subscription because they were making money maybe for the first time. All right. Now, so here's what they're saying. Hey, Matrix is fast money. Can be. Depends. Can be. Matrix has spillover. That could be good. That can be bad. It's forced, which generates some spill. Everyone can make money from a team effort. I would put a big question mark with the everyone. Obviously, some people make money from a team effort. And then someone said no recruiting. Well, I will tell you, a lot of companies that have a matrices will require that you've got to do something in order to generate. Even that company that we've been talking about that was really big in the revenue sharing space that had a to-buy matrix. In order for you to generate money in the matrix, you had to refer two affiliates. All right? I don't know if it was two affiliates or two people on their $10 a month subscription as a minimum, okay? So no recruiting. I'm also going to put a question by that. Can someone tell me what are some potential negatives with the matrix? I'm talking about how this company is going to structure how it pays its monthly subscription. Can someone tell me? Okay. All right, somebody said regulators. All right, one thing we should understand, and it would be, you may not understand this if you haven't, well, I wouldn't have understood this had I not been either a part owner of a company or had a chance to spend time with the management team of this company. Regulators don't like matrices, okay? That's why the current company that I've been promoting for doesn't have a matrix. Regulators don't like matrices. There's a few in the states. There's a few states that are really just don't like them. Okay, so from one standpoint, regulators don't care. Some regulators don't care for matrices. Another thing. Let me see what you said here. Someone said it dead ends with no new activity. They said something else, but this is what they meant. So now. So what we've seen oftentimes is that people would go and promote a matrix and talk about spillover. Oh, you better join right now. You're going to get all this spillover. And then what happens if you referred someone and they thought they were going to get spill and they either never got it or they didn't think they got as much as they should have? Then what happens? Now you have folks complaining. Okay? So a matrix, as much as I actually like the excitement of a matrix, does not reward the proper behavior. Remember, we've got to have a culture of the proper behavior. I believe that a revenue sharing compensation model alone doesn't actually reward the behavior we want. Part of the behavior is we want people to join. That's part of it. Part of the behavior is we want people to stay engaged, all right? Pay their monthly subscription, place their ad, do whatever is required in order to get their daily revenue, okay? But now that we're seeing this evolution, we really want even Joe Average to at least put forth a little promotional effort, because any promotional effort that could lead to either other affiliates that join, that have a monthly subscription, that make purchases, that help get the product out, or a customer that makes a purchase, has nothing to do with the compensation plan. And that's one of the reasons why we like this particular model that we'll be adding, because even though Joe Average may not be good at selling and Susie Average may not be good at selling, by giving away a physical sample, it gives them a better chance that that customer they gave the physical sample to, whether it was a customer they knew or a customer that they purchased through some type of customer purchase co-op type deal, it gives them a chance to get product in the marketplace and get more sales. More sales means what? More revenue. More revenue means stronger daily revenues, longer period of time, so on and so forth, okay? A matrix doesn't necessarily reward the proper behavior, because a lot of people in the matrix will have an entitlement mentality. I had a gentleman that joined me, with that company that had a revenue share and had a matrix. And this was a big builder. All right, this guy was a big builder. And he had built large teams before. He was kind of down on his fortunes at the time. And he came, I don't know what level he fell on mine. He fell way, way down. And even he, though he's a big builder, and this guy went on to develop a point total of just under $1 million. This guy went on to have, I think his best month cash in hand that he put in his pocket, cash in his pocket was $200,000 for the month. And yet this guy called me about maybe 30 days or 60 days in and said, T. Lamont, I haven't gotten any spill from you. I thought I was going to get some spill. In other words, here's a dude who'd been in this industry, had built large teams, had made money, he was down on his fortunes at that time, went on to become a guy who made as much as $200,000 cash in hand, and even he was still expecting, I want spill. So the challenge with a matrix is that it doesn't really generate the proper behavior. Now, if you could take the exciting parts of a matrix, the potential of having people spill under you, the potential of that. If you could take that and take away some of the negatives, then you might have a phenomenal model on the back end. And I'm going to tell you what this company wants to do is, yes, on the front end, we've got the revenue sharing. We've got the revenue sharing model. We all said, hey, we know how that works, okay? But on the back end, what they want to do is they want to have folks on the back end, aside from the revenue sharing portion, making a very strong full-time income. A very strong full-time income. Now, the reality is, when I was with that company that had a matrix, a 2x5 matrix is what they had, and you hear me say, hey, we had over 400,000 affiliates. Well, that's because in our 2x5, we had over 400,000 folks in the matrices. Now, I actually, though the company rarely even talked about the matrix side of the business coming from the monthly subscriptions, and while I never really talked about it in webinars that I did, and if you ask most people about how the matrix worked, they couldn't have told you. They wouldn't have known. They just knew, oh, okay, maybe I'm seeing some money, maybe I'm not, but they didn't know why they were seeing money or what have you. Now, we made decent income from that matrix. But if you look at that from a percentage basis on how many folks we had in the matrix, it was a very, 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 very minute payout per monthly subscription. Now, I'm not complaining because we did very well. It was almost an afterthought. When I started making money in the matrix, and one of the reasons I never even talked about the matrix on our webinars is because, one, it was confusing to folks. But number two, I wanted people to, if they generated money from the matrix, to say, oh, wow, I didn't even know about this. I didn't even know this was coming in, this extra $100 a month or extra $200 a month or extra $2,000 a month or extra $10,000 a month. Wow, I didn't even know about that. What this company wants to do from the monthly subscriptions, they want folks to be able to have a very powerful full-time income in time for those that are willing to do, to build the business. The revenue sharing model, ladies and gentlemen, the revenue sharing model is for everyone. I recruit, I don't recruit, that's for everyone. I recruit, I don't recruit, that's for everyone. I recruit an affiliate, I don't recruit an affiliate. I place my ad, I give away my samples, I do whatever the small, what's the word I'm looking for? Requirements are, and I'm not ready to share what those are just yet because those two are still under review, okay? But that's not difficult at all, okay? So I do that. I recruit or I don't recruit. Revenue sharing is for everyone. Revenue sharing is for everyone. What they're going to do with this monthly subscription won't necessarily be for everyone. Why? Well, because some people don't want to build a business necessarily, or don't feel like don't want to build a business, aren't good at recruiting affiliates, and may say, I can't recruit affiliates. So let me tell you what they're going to do. That's very, very powerful. Okay, right? By the way, before I get into this, someone tell me, open up your questions box and tell me so we know some of the positives of a matrix is could generate some fast money, could generate some spillover. I like that part of it, that people, man, they get excited. I like the excitement that it generates. Could be forced, all right? Doesn't necessarily allow everyone to make money, but can generate a very strong team effort. And some people say you can make money without recruiting. Well, listen, that's really what the revenue sharing model is for. All right, that's not what the back end is for. Okay, all right. Now, someone real quickly tell me on a unilevel. Someone tell me what are the positive. Tell me what are the positives of a unilevel. And then after you tell me that, I'm going to ask you what the negatives of a unilevel are. What are the positives of a unilevel? Positives of a unilevel. Someone said build wide. In this industry, there's something that I was taught very early on. They said you build width for profitability. You build depth for security. One of the so a unilevel allows you to build wide. Personal sponsorship allows you to go 10 personals, 11 personals, 1,100 personals. Allows you to build wide. Width gives you profitability. Okay, it's depth that gives you security. So one of the reasons people liked a matrix or even a binary is that a matrix or a binary did promote more of team building. A matrix or a binary did promote more of team building. Some of the bigger dudes and dudettes in this industry like unilevels because they get to go very, 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 very wide. And that width, because typically you're going to be paid more for an action of the people you personally sponsor than you are for the actions of someone on your 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th level or generation or what have you, okay? So that's one of the advantages for the builder. Another advantage is, someone said, fast start bonuses. Okay, well, again, because most companies that have a unilevel pay some type of bonus if you personally sponsor and that person you personally sponsor does commissionable activity like purchase a package or what have you, you will tend to get a larger bonus there, okay? Let's give you some other ones real quickly. Unilevels are proven. Regulators, unilevels are proven to regulators. By the way, you should understand with the matrix, revenue sharing, with the matrix, we haven't really seen a matrix stand the test of time. Typically, after about 2 or 3 years, matrices tend to, companies that employ a matrix normally have about a 2 or 3 year lifespan with that matrix being their core compensation model before they have to change things up. And I really wasn't sensitive to that. I really didn't recognize that until I started going back through my 19 years now in this industry. And I would see companies that had a matrix, and some companies I was with and some companies I was no longer with. And then all of a sudden that company no longer had a matrices. And I didn't understand why that was until we did some further digging. This is not necessarily a regulatory issue, but just because a matrix tends to generate the wrong culture of behavior that you want to see in your building. Okay. Now, so here's some advantages of a unilevel: build wide, fast start bonuses. They're proven to regulators. What are some disadvantages of a unilevel? Someone said, Julio said, unit levels are easy to explain. They're typically very simple. All right, so it's not hard to get people to join you when they understand a unit level. Okay, okay, I do this, I get this percentage. All right, got it. Okay, all right. Sometimes matrices and binaries and all that, sometimes they can be a little bit more difficult to explain. All right, so somebody said, hey, here's the problem with the unit level. Unit levels are typically for the big builders. Unit levels don't sponsor or don't cultivate team building, because with a unit level, typically you go wide for profitability and then you build depth for security. A lot of times people just stop at the width building, the profitability part. I won't mention names, but there's a buddy of mine. He can recruit like the wind. He can recruit with the best of them. So he can go very wide for profitability. What he's not good at, there's a difference between recruiting and building. What he's not good at is building. He's great at recruiting, but not good at building. In other words, he'll recruit like the wind. He'll recruit them all right? But then he's not good at making sure that his folks are trained, that they understand, so on and so forth. And so he's always on this recruiting treadmill. He recruits them. They fall off in 30 to 60 to 90 days. He recruits some more. They fall off in 30 to 60 to 90 days, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, I know of a couple that's actually on this webinar right now. They would tell you, hey, we're not really big recruiters, but boy, we know how to build. We know how to work with our team and how to taproot and go down on that second and third and fourth and fifth level and find that next leader and then work with that leader to go down and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, what if on the back end we could have the advantages of being able to build wide for profitability, at the same time cultivate team building for building security, at the same time develop the right culture of behavior. So what if we could build wide for profitability, we could build depth for security, and we can foster team building, and more importantly, which is all of this is part of fostering, all of this is part of number 4, what if we could what if we could create the right culture of behavior? Okay, so follow me here. Okay, follow me here. And again, tonight I was talking more about structure. We'll start, by the way, you should know there's going to be 10 ways the company's going to pay. The company's going to pay the daily revenue sharing. They're going to pay retail commissions on sales that are made when somebody buys products from their shopping portals. They're going to, let's see here, they're going to pay daily bonuses when you have personally referred someone and they get paid their daily rewards, and whatever amount goes to their bucket of bucks. In other words, some of us are familiar with, hey, if you made $100 reward that night and you let all $100 of that reward go to your bucket to give away more of your company samples, then that means your upline would get a percentage of that in terms of an override. So that's going to be there. I'm going to tell you, though, they're going to do something very special with those daily bonuses, those overrides. They're going to do something I have not seen before. But this is what I want us to get into, because it's going to also deal with the monthly subscription that I believe in time. Some of you, just from the monthly subscription, some of you are going to be at a very, very strong residual income, an extremely strong residual income outside of the revenue sharing compensation model. outside of the revenue sharing compensation model. And by the way, let me tell you why they want to do this, okay? We still know, when I ask what are the positives and the negatives about unilevel, positives and negatives about a matrix, we know the positives of the revenue sharing model, all right? Everybody can win. Everybody can win, all right? So far, what's the negatives? We still have to pass the regulatory test. We still have to pass the regulatory test, much like the binaries were a few years ago. Now, they eventually passed the test, and now you got a lot of companies coming out with binaries, but we still have to pass the regulatory test. So what this company said is, we want the revenue sharing model. If anything ever comes up down the road for whatever reason where we've got to, regulators come in and say, you got to change this, you got to change that. We want to make sure that our folks are generating such a large income from the other sources that we have, that it's not just an afterthought, that the monthly subscription income and other incomes tied to this part that they'll have is not just an afterthought. It may not necessarily be heavily promoted on the front end when we're doing a presentation, but it will be a part of the culture when people come inside, so that that monthly subscription becomes a huge part in time of a person's revenue stream, particularly those that are engaged and active in building. You don't have to be a great builder necessarily, but you're engaged and active in building. Okay, how about, what if you had this? What if you had a unilevel width equals profitability with a placement feature. Now, I know a couple of weeks ago I said, hey, Queen, you know what they're going to do with that monthly subscription, and I think I even said something about a matrix, because they were looking at the matrix. Primarily, they were looking at a matrix because of the excitement that it brings. But as they consulted with their attorney and what have you, and as we walked through that, there was this element of the matrix that we didn't like. We didn't like the entitlement society that it maybe generates, or the behavior that it potentially generates, where people just kind of sit back and wait on their upline to produce spill, and then if their upline doesn't produce spill, or doesn't produce it fast enough, or doesn't produce enough, then they complain, about the upline. Shelly didn't get me any spill. Shelly didn't get me any spill. Now, a lot of our team in times past, when we dealt with a matrix, a lot of times we didn't have that issue, because we told folks spill is for lazy folks. That's what we would always tell folks. Spill is for lazy folks. Dave, you need to be a spill master. You need to produce spill, not sit back and wait on spill. You need to produce spill. Today, I got someone Skyping me, talking about, join me now. There's a whole lot of spill going on in whatever business interest that they are promoting. Well, when you understand a matrix, spill only happens to the weakest part of your organization. In other words, if I sponsor Dave, and he's my first dude, and I sponsor Pauline, and she's my second person, and Dave immediately goes to work and starts building up his organization, now I sponsor someone else. Dave may never see any spill from me, because he's not the weak link. In my example, Pauline is, and that is a hypothetical name. So if there's some Paulines here, I'm not talking about you specifically, okay? But what if we could do this? What if we did this, Dave? So let's say, Dave, you are the sponsor here, because Dave, I know you're going to build a team. So Dave, let's say you sponsor Pauline, you sponsor Martha, you sponsor Ralph. All right. So Dave, you sponsored Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. You with me so far? You sponsored Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. And let's say, Dave, that you had a placement feature that allows Pauline, Martha, and Ralph, as soon as you sponsor them, as soon as they purchase whatever they purchase, you get your referral commissions like you should, all right? So you get your referral commissions immediately. But what happens if you could put Pauline, Martha, and Ralph in a holding tank? You can put them in a holding tank. Let's say you had 60 days, Dave, to place Pauline, Martha, or Ralph anywhere in your organization. Hear me, all right? So it's got the unilevel feature of going wide for profitability. You are always the sponsor of record for Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. You get the lion's share of whatever the payout is from their monthly subscription. You override them as they are earning on the daily basis in the daily revenue share, and you're getting your override bonuses. You're getting the lion's share of those override bonuses. Remember, Dave, I had a dude on my team, had a couple dudes, but I had one dude that hit 1.4 million. 1.4 million points. Dave, this dude would generate $20,000 on an average day. He'd generate $20,000 for the day. He would repurchase 80% of what he made. He would use to repurchase that company samples to give them away, and then he would put 20% in his pocket. So, Dave, this guy was generating $16,000 of new purchases a day. And as his sponsor, I was getting a 10% override. Dave, you see those numbers, buddy? You see those numbers? Pretty big, right? I was getting, all right? Okay? Now, so Dave, you would still get that. Queen, you would still get that. But what if you could go to Pauline and Martha and Ralph and say, hey, look, Pauline, I've got a couple other folks sitting in my queue. I've got a couple other folks sitting in my holding tank. That's not what the company's going to call it, but let's just call it that for lack of a better term. I got a couple folks now sitting in my holding tank. And maybe you did a conference call with your personally sponsored. Maybe you did a private webinar with your personally sponsored. And maybe, Dave, you ran a contest. And you said, Pauline, Martha, Ralph, whichever one of you does ABC, you determine what ABC is. We're talking about a culture of behavior. We're talking about a culture of behavior where folks aren't just sitting on the sidelines, just placing an ad. If that's what a person wants to do, you feel free to do it. You place your ad, you do your minimum requirements, and you can participate in the revenue sharing model. Queen, one of the reasons we did so well with this model is because we didn't just sit on the sidelines placing our ad. We started building the network. And we happened to have a dude that was in our organization that was personal to us that built his points up to 1.4 million points. Queen, you do the math of what that was looking like on a nightly basis. If you take that override, does that allow you to put a few bucks in your pocket and more aggressively build your own point totals? Yes. So what if Dave could go to Pauline and Martha and Ralph and say, hey, guys, I'm going to run. I got you guys sitting in my holding tank. Because, see, Dave, that holding tank, you could keep them there for 60 days. You don't lose a dime if they're in your holding tank. You don't lose one dime if they're in your holding tank. You're still getting your personal referral commissions. You don't lose one dime if they're in your holding tank. But what if you go to Pauline, Martha, and Ralph and you say, okay, all right, guys, this is what I'm going to do. The first person that does ABC, maybe ABC is something as simple as refer one new affiliate. All right, maybe it's simple like that. Hey, the first one of you that refers one new affiliate, all right, I've got 3 people in my holding tank. The first one of you that refers one affiliate, I'm going to put one of my legs in your organization, and you will override them for life. Queen, how quickly will Paul and Martha and Ralph go to work? So let's say if Pauline won that contest, and now you said, okay, well, I'm going to put Ralph in Pauline's leg. Now what Pauline would get, you still get the personal sponsorship commissions. Now what Pauline would get is that as Ralph begins to build his business, she's going to get the overrides that come through the other part of the structure. So she's going to hear me. She's going to override, hear me, doggone it, hear me. She's going to override Ralph, in this example, his daily revenue that he receives that heretofore, Dave, you've been getting an override on? Guess who's also going to get an override? Because you put Ralph in Pauline's business, Pauline's going to get an override. What if Ralph builds to 1.4 million or 140,000 or 1,400 points? And when Ralph now pays his monthly subscription, Pauline's going to get an override there. Now, look at what just happened. Dave didn't lose one penny. He still gets to go as wide as he wants. He still gets to personally sponsor as many people as he wants. That's designed for the big business builder. But now he's able to come back to all of those that he personally sponsored and run contests. So maybe he runs a contest. So Queen, let me tell you. So let's say Dave has sponsored a few more folks. So he's sponsored Ralph, all right? Because you know Dave's a sponsoring machine, all right? So Dave sponsored Pauline, Martha, Ralph, Jimmy, Tony, and I can't spell that one. Phyllis. Running out of names to think of. Okay, so he sponsors Pauline, Martha, Ralph, Jimmy, Tony, Phyllis, right? And maybe he knows that Pauline, Martha, and Ralph are really good people. Really, they're just fantastic people, and they followed him for a while, and they really haven't proven themselves yet to be great recruiters or great sponsors or just yet. So maybe he has a private contest with Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. He's Joe and Susie averages. And he says, okay, whichever one of you, gets one new affiliate or does so much in production for the month or whatever, Dave, you run your own contest. Whichever one of you does that, then I'm going to put a leg link to you. And see, Dave, guess what, Dave? When Pauline came aboard, Martha came aboard, Ralph already came aboard, maybe they've already made their package purchase. Maybe they purchased whatever that package happens to be. So you've already gotten commission. But now you even know that kind of where Pauline stands point-wise because of what she purchased. What Martha stands point-wise, where Ralph stands point-wise. And now you know that Ralph should be making some pretty decent daily revenue. And you put Ralph underneath Pauline, your Susie average, because you wanted Susie average and Joe average to do a little bit more than what they've been used to doing. Maybe they go after it. Maybe you say, hey, whoever brings on the first two. And so maybe Pauline brings on 2, Martha brings on 1, Ralph brings on 1. Well, guess what? Pauline wins. Is Martha going to be upset? No, because she finally sponsored someone. The whole idea is to create a behavior of let's do more than just place our ad. If all you ever want to do is place your ad and do whatever the other minimum requirements are, fine. But what I'm talking to now are those of you who say, I want to make some real money. I might not be good at recruiting yet. That's okay. I might not be good at sponsoring yet. That's okay. I might not be good at selling yet. That's okay. But I want to make some money. I am telling you, this tool is amazing. Queen, I talked to a leader the other day. By the way, that company, Visalis, that I told you about, if you look at their compensation plan, there's nothing. I promise you, there's nothing on that PDF that would excite you. Not one thing. Not one thing. Not one thing. Okay? I talked to a leader that's over there now that's building a huge organization. And I said, well, what's causing this? And they said, because we're running all these contests. And we're getting the average person. He said a lot of these people, they don't even know much about network marketing. All we're doing is we're running a contest, and they're running after the contest because they want to be the winner of the contest. And a lot of times with the contest, it's based on either you recruited an affiliate or 2 or 3, or you did so much volume. And so you get Pauline doing more than what she normally would do. You get Martha doing more than what she would normally do. You get Ralph doing a little bit more than what he would normally do. And not only do you see growth in your team, but also what happens is they start to increase their confidence. When I first got in this industry in 1994, just a phenomenal sponsor, Kim, can't remember Kim's last name for right now. He was a dude, but Kim would take me around. I was in Primerica Financial Services. I had just gotten my life insurance license. I knew nothing about the industry, knew nothing about network marketing, knew nothing about insurance. He would take me around, and everybody, where he would take me, he would introduce me as this guy who was going to blow it up, and I was going to be the number one person at my level in that company, in that state. He said, man, this guy's going to do $5,000 in business his first month out. I didn't know if 5,000 was good or not. I didn't know if that was good or small. But he said it so much, I figured, well, I'll do the 5,000. He believes in me. I did 5,400. When the leaders boards came out that particular month, Queen, the person that was at my same rank in the same state did 1,800. I did 5,400. They did 1,800. I had no idea that 5,000 was supposed to be a number that most people never got to. I had no idea, because what he did was he created a culture of behavior. Now that I had done 5,000, I knew I could do 5,000. So what if you have Pauline, Martha, Ralph? I got a contest for you. All right, whoever does ABC, I'm gonna put a leg in your organization. Oh my gosh! Wow. Now maybe Pauline, Martha, and Ralph have one or two folks in that organization. So you know what you then do? You have a conference call with Pauline, Martha, and Ralph's people and say, hey, listen, I want you guys to help Pauline, Martha, and Ralph because they're in a contest. And what I said is, whoever does the most production or recruits or what have you, that's who's going to get the next leg. And so they want to help Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. And then let's say Pauline, Martha, and Ralph have John and Mary and Sue and what have you. So now you get Mary and Sue working to help Pauline, Martha, and Ralph. And by the way, when you finally place the whenever you place that leg, does it mean that you have to place them direct to Pauline? Or can you place that person on Pauline's second level or Pauline's third level? Remember, you don't lose anything. Oh, wait. Are you telling me that I can look in my organization and see that somebody is building and working and what? Are you telling me I can go even below my first level, my second level, and I could actually place someone in my organization so that the overrides come up through the organization and I don't lose a penny? Is that what you just told me, T. Lamont? So that now I can even do this because Jimmy and Tony and Phyllis, they're more of my Joe stars. Maybe even Joe Superstar. And now I can put a contest together for Jimmy, Tony, and Phyllis. And now maybe that contest is a little bit stronger. Maybe I have them doing a little bit more, so on and so forth. And now they go for it, Queen. They go for it. Maybe I even told them, hey, by the way, on today's webinar, I've got Jimmy, Tony, and Phyllis. Just so you guys know, Jimmy, person recruited 50 people in his last organization. And Tony had a team of this. And Phyllis built up a point total of this. Now, hey, listen, Jimmy, Tony, and Phyllis, I want you guys, here's a contest. All right? This is for you guys. All right? So now I get Jimmy, Tony, and Phyllis going for it. And whoever wins, let's say that Jimmy wins, then I'm putting one of those legs, Tony or Phyllis, in Jimmy's organization. Now, I still went wide. I didn't lose a dime. I still went wide. I didn't lose a dime. Did I begin to promote the culture of activity that we want? Yes. Did I reward performance as opposed to creating a society, a culture of entitlement? I'm still able to place people in the organization that still generates that spillover effect without the entitlement culture. This culture says, I earned it. Queen, I was in a company. We had a 3x7 matrix. And I had a guy on my first level. We called him Ain't Done Jack. That's what we call him. We call him Ain't Done Jack. You remember? You used to talk about, all right? One of my biggest guy, this guy wound up being about 40 to 50% of my entire organization, spilled under Ain't Done Jack in the Matrix. Now, that was good for Ain't Done Jack, right? Because Ain't Done Jack eventually was making like $300 a month. But guess what Ain't Done Jack did? No, I just told you. He never did Jack. Ain't Done Jack didn't do Jack. He didn't do nothing. He cashed a check. But he never made a contribution to the organization other than paying his monthly subscription. That was it. He never made a contribution. We want a revenue sharing model that's going to be here for long term. Yes, we're going to have plenty of folks that never recruit an affiliate. And if you're one of those folks that's never recruited an affiliate before and you don't think you can do it, I want you to understand that a huge part of our compensation model is for you, that revenue sharing part, if you never recruited an affiliate. But for those of us who say, doggone it, I want to make more money than just my daily revenues. I like my daily revenues, but I want to make more money than that. I really want to impact my family. I really want to impact my community. I really want to impact people I'm concerned about. I want to build this thing. Then what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to create this culture of, hey, we're gonna do a contest. What if I did this, Queen? You've been personally sponsored by me. Dave's been personally sponsored by me. All right, and my buddy, I'll just say KM from Utah is on the webinar. Big business builder. What if I brought you and Dave and KM on a webinar and said, hey guys, got a contest. Whoever does ABC, all right. I'm gonna either put. Dave will either be a part of your team, Queen. I'm his sponsor, but Dave winds up on it, and now you override all that. Or, Queen, you're going to be a part of his. Or, you're going to be a part of... Who wants it? Who wants it? Here's the contest. Here's the deal. What do? You go out, and you push a little extra harder. And when you push a little extra harder, guess what happens to the revenues of the company? The revenues of the company goes up. And if the revenues of the company goes up, where does that show up? Every single day in our daily revenue, so that my Joe average and my Susie average who don't go out and recruit still have a strong revenue. My gosh, they put this thing together, Queen. Now, Queen, I'm way over my time, all right? I told you tonight we weren't going to talk about so much about percentages as much as we were ideology and developing a culture of behavior, because that trumps percentages. I will tell you, the company that we once promoted that had a revenue sharing compensation model that really proved how powerful this model could be, unfortunately no longer here. Early on, the culture in that company was invest your money. Find people who have money and will simply invest. Matter of fact, they came out, they said originally, hey, you earn 125% of your original purchase. It sounded like an investment. And guess what they attracted a lot of early on? People who thought of it as investment. So then you started seeing on YouTube people doing spreadsheets like investments. And then you start hearing terminology. Even the company had a company video that said an average of 1.4%. And did that become problematic? Yes. Now, there may be people who have done this with the current company that I promote, but I haven't seen it yet. I've seen one thing of this, and we told them, hey, you better take this down or you ain't going to be here. Because we did not come out of the gate talking about percentages, we never said percentages. I haven't heard people talk about percentages. I've heard them talk about things like a reward per credit or reward per point. My point is, when we come out of the gate here, we want to establish the right culture of behavior. What we want to establish is, yes, Joe average, Susie average, you can win through the daily revenue sharing, even if you didn't happen to recruit any affiliates. Yeah, we want them to. That's going to attract a lot of folks. But once they come in, we want them to embrace the culture of behavior that has people doing these contests amongst their teams and what have you. They become fun. Zeke, you're gonna love this, man, because you know what it's like. You know what recognition and all that. You know how big that is. Some people will fight harder for recognition than they do for the money. And you know what else this company's going to do? They are going to have a luxury car program. It's going to be pretty simple to get to that luxury car program because this Visalis company is winning because they have a placement tool that we're talking about, and more importantly, they've got the culture with it, and they got a bunch of folks who are getting into cars and don't even know how they won the car. Don't even really understand the compensation. But they joined and they heard about their sponsor having a contest and they wanted to win the contest. And so they won that contest, and then their sponsor had another contest, and then they started having contests. And so there were all these wind sprints of contests going on. They look up and they say, oh, I just qualified for a car. What happens, Queen, if you qualify for whatever the luxury program is? Maybe it's a Mercedes. And so that's what they're doing. And so it took this company that has a weight loss product. They're not the only company that's got a weight loss product out there. They took this company that has a unilevel compensation. There's no binary. There's no matrix. When you look at it on the front end, it is not exciting, I promise you. But they developed a culture, an absolute culture. They reward performance. They reward performance. And again, for those of you who are big business builders, let me tell you exactly what I'm going to do, Queen. I'm telling you exactly what I'm going to do. Because I know the folks that when they join, I know the ones, of course, I'll recruit other folks that I don't know right now. But the ones that join me, I kind of know if somebody joined me and they've been following me. I kind of know, if they have a recruiting acumen, if they're a big business builder or not. Queen, I know what you're capable of doing. Dave, I know what you're capable of doing. But I know that there's some folks that are joined that, that recruiting is not their big thing. So you know what I'll do is I'll have a contest with some of my Joe and Susie averages. Joe average, whoever wins. Susie average, whoever wins, you get this. And I'll have a contest with my Joe and Susie stars, and I'll have a contest with my Joe and Susie superstars. And then you'll have contests. And then what we'll be able to do, Queen, is we'll be able to go down in depth and help our teammates have contests. Because in this example, when you said, hey, Pauline, Martha, and Ralph, whoever does something, I'm going to put a leg in your organization. So let's say that Pauline won. Ralph goes in Pauline's organization. Martha is still in your queue. So you can run another contest. You can run another contest. Oh, how about this one as I finish here? How about this one? How about, Queen? Remember, you got 60 days where they can stay in your queue. You hadn't lost a dime as the sponsor. You hadn't lost one penny if they stay in your queue. What if you did this, Queen? What if you've been going after a big fish? You've been going after a big fish. You've been going after a big fish. And maybe these folks maybe you've left them in your queue for, you got 60 days to leave them in your queue. So you've left them in your queue there, just allowing things to build, all right? And now you go to this big fish. You say, you come join me. There's this Phyllis on my team. She's going absolutely berserk. Come join me right now, today. I place Phyllis on your team. Or come join me right now and do X, Y, Z. Let me show that you're worthy of it. I'll place Phyllis in your team. Does that give you ammunition now? My point is, don't worry about which contest you're going to run or what have you. My point is, this behavior is going to spur so much activity. And that activity, even for those of you who didn't get it tonight, that's okay. Even for those of you who say, well, that sounds good for the big business builder, but that's not me. That's okay. Because that type of behavior is going to generate more revenue for the company, far more revenue for the company than a matrix that does not create that same type of behavior, far more than even a binary that doesn't create that type of behavior. Queen, I'll create that type of behavior. You'll create that type of behavior, that excitement. Dave will create that type of behavior because I know what you're going to tell folks, Queen. I already know what you're going to tell your personal sponsor or the folks that are going to be linked to you. You're going to say, hey, whoever does A, B, and C by D, E, and F, I'm doing a contest. You already know you're going to personally sponsor quite a few folks because you always do. You got hundreds of thousands of folks following you on Twitter. And so now what you're going to do, so in this pre-launch, in this pre-registration period, and then the pre-launch period, you know what? It may take a little while before all the sites are up and the daily revenue is showing and so on and so forth, because this company wants to make sure they're doing the proper testing. They're doing testing as we speak and so on and so forth. But you know what, Queen? You know what? Even in the pre-registration stage, even in the pre-launch stage, you know what's going to be happening? Folks are going to be saying, oh, I want to make sure. I want to make sure I'm doing a little activity. I'm doing a little activity, because you never know when a contest is coming. You never know when your sponsor, when someone in your sponsorship leg is going to do a contest. You never know. See, a contest could be retroactive back to the beginning of the month. This is going to be so much fun. Hey, Queen, I hadn't even told you the percentages yet. I hadn't even told you about the matching income yet. I hadn't told you about that. I hadn't even told you what happens. I told you a little bit. What happens when you place someone, Queen, when you place Ralph? Maybe Ralph's not a big business builder, but he made a decent sized purchase and he's got some decent daily revenue figures. What happens when you place Ralph in Pauline's organization and now you didn't lose a dime, Queen? You didn't lose one dime. You still get your override bonuses. You didn't lose one dime. If he stayed in the queue for 60 days, you didn't lose a dime. You still got your override bonuses. But now what happens if you place Ralph in Pauline's organization and now she's not only overriding his monthly subscription in purchases, she's not only helps Pauline qualify for her luxury card bonus. Oh, I didn't mention that. The fact that you make that placement is going to help Pauline get into a car. Oh, Queen, so that's going to be another thing. You're going to see somebody who's getting close to a car, and you know what? You're going to gather your team around, and we're going to help support that person, help get them the volume they need to get in their car, Queen. I remember when I was going for promotion, I was in the traditional side of this industry. I was going for promotion. We were in the life insurance and mutual fund game, Queen. We were in the life insurance and mutual fund game. I was going for my promotion. I was still about $20,000 in volume short of my promotion. One of my dudes, Robert Cobb, I love you, man. I love you. Robert Cobb, it was a Memorial Day weekend. Robert said if I have to knock on every door, he went back to his hometown. He said if I have to knock on every door to try and say, hey, do you want some life insurance? I'll do it until you get that promotion. He fought harder for me than he did for his dollar. And we got the promotion, he got paid, and man, it just generated such excitement and team building. And so now, guess what happened when Robert was getting close, was coming up for promotion? Boy, the whole team rallied around Robert. Let's see what we can do to help Robert. We got to get Robert. So now, Queen, you're going to be able to. Pauline, she's getting close to that luxury car bonus, guys. She's getting close to that luxury car bonus. Let's push a little bit harder. Let's push a little bit harder. So when you do a placement, Mr. or Mrs. Leader, into your organization, you are helping to team build. You still are wide from a profitability standpoint, but you are starting to build some depth. Wow. I'm way past my time, ladies and gentlemen. Way past my time. I'm way past my time. Queen, if you ain't figured it out, am I pumped up about this or am I pumped up about this? Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. I haven't even seen what they're saying. Yeah, someone is saying, again, listen, I tell you what, I'll give you something. Now, I'm not promoting this particular company, but this is the company that has gone absolutely crazy. I want you to go to YouTube. And I want you to search for Visalis. What do they call it? Did they call it the meeting room? They don't call it the meeting room. Waiting room. Search for Visalis Waiting Room. Visalis Waiting Room. There's a couple of videos on there now. Go to Visalis Waiting Room, and you'll see a couple folks talking about the contest and what have you. This is the company that has a weight loss product Now they've got a couple of things. They've got a 90-day weight loss challenge, and so that's also giving them a lot of momentum. They've got a car bonus program. So Queen, they do a lot of building offline. So what happens is when they invite people to the function, whatever the function happens to be, people pull up. I think they have like a BMW something, black BMW or something like that. And so when people pull up, they see all these black BMWs, almost like if you went to the function and you saw a bunch of pink Cadillacs. Before you're even in, you're saying, oh my gosh, what's this all about? Okay. But they use this placement tool, and it's just a part of what they do. It's a part of their overall culture. And that has helped take them almost to $1 billion a year company in North America. They're not even outside of North America yet, Queen. That's almost unheard of in the traditional space. And what I was told by one of their big leaders is they really aren't even doing a lot yet on the internet. A lot of theirs has been, belly to belly type stuff. So you take that with a revenue sharing model. We're basically combining the two models that have generated the most affiliate interest and thereby the most revenue in this industry in the last 10 years. That's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let me stop there. I'll take about 15 minutes for optional Q&A. I'm way over my time, so that's about all I'm going to be able to take tonight. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'm going to redo this. I will condense it down since it's going to be in the afternoon. I will look to get this posted. By the way, last Thursday night, and then Friday, we did a webinar. Friday was a take on what we did on Thursday night, okay? And I preferred the recording on Friday as opposed to recording on Thursday. So that we posted, and we've already sent that out. We'll send that out again. If you are part of our Telamont's Plan B email list, and you will know that if you've gotten an email that says Telamont's Plan B, then you will get that link. It's already got sent out about an hour before we came on the webinar, and it'll be sent out a couple times tomorrow to talk about the product. That way you can get that link to your following so they can understand a little bit more about the product. If you're not a part of our email listing, we'll never send out any personal referral links through this listing. Telamont's Plan B, and I know, I got to get a lead capture page up and all that good stuff. Haven't had time to do that. Telamont's Plan B at aweber.com. Just send a blind email there. Blind email just means you don't have to say, hey, Telamont, add me or anything. All you got to do is put Telamont's Plan B in the to section. Maybe put just a subject there because your email system may require you to do so. You might have to just put something in the body, but I don't really see that. Okay, so if you're saying, hey, call, here's my email address, I don't even see that. All I see is that you opted in. So that's what we mean by blind email. Okay, all right, you don't have to do a whole dissertation there. All right, Queen, what questions do we see? Yeah, listen, I've got my ceiling fan on and I'm burning up. Not disclosure. As soon as we can tell you who the company is, we will let you know. It is not anything that you've heard of in the marketplace yet. So if people are sending you links of some other company that's about the pre-launch or that's launching, so on and so forth, that isn't the company. That's not to say that, and I'm not telling you not to add that to your income-producing portfolio if you see value in it, but that's not the company. So as soon as I'm told that I can share, we will. In terms of when will the pre-registration sites come up, they could come up as early as this week. It's maybe if it happens this week, it's going to be the end of the week. So it could be the end of this week or maybe the first of next week. Those are the time frames. I don't want to give too many time frames because I want to make sure that this company under promises and over delivers as opposed to the other way around. Okay, next question. Very good question. Yes. Man, who said that? Who asked that question? Who? Hugh, man. Man, that is well thought. So what Hugh is asking is, in this example, Dave sponsored Pauline, and Pauline is in the holding tank. That's not what the company will call it, but let's just call it that for right now, okay? So Dave sponsors Pauline, and Pauline is in the holding tank. Now, what about the folks that were in Dave's genealogical line and his actual sponsorship line? Are they getting anything while Pauline's in the holding tank, or do we have to wait for Dave to place Pauline? The answer is yes. From day one, Hugh, if you sponsored Dave, and then Dave sponsored Pauline, and Pauline is still sitting in the holding tank, you still get your override based on Pauline's purchases. All right? You don't lose anything there, and it's even going to be at least one more generation above that. So it's going to be a 3-generation payout. That part I can share with you. All right. What we saw with the company that was the biggest that we had seen so far in the revenue sharing space is they had a 2-generation payout, which meant what typically happened was you got as high as 10%. In terms of your personal referrals, whatever they purchased, and then you got as much as 5% on what their referrals purchased. And then you got whatever you got on the monthly subscription. Okay, what this company is going to do now, Q, do not tie me to this because they're still having things reviewed by the attorneys, but this is what I'm looking at right now, okay? If it changes, don't beat me up. 3 generations, all right? Some of us are part of a company now that pays 6 generations, and that's very exciting. Up to 6 generations. You've got to qualify for 6 generations. What this company did is they said, well, let's do 3 generations, and then let's put the remaining budget through more levels so that more people potentially get paid. So the 3 generations get paid very well, what they're primarily used to. But then we put the other budgeted amount in a structure. Now, initially, Queen, that I thought maybe that structure was going to be a matrix, which is why I said, wow, they're going to do something special, with, all right. And then, but there was a lot of still conversations that were going on. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that certain states don't like matrices, but more importantly, the culture that sometimes matrices tend to create, where here was a company, because they had this culture with a unilevel placement tool that was doing phenomenally well. And boy, started looking at that, and I'm, oh my gosh, all the wow. Hey, Queen, our webinar is really going to be packed. If you never know when we might run a contest. So, Hugh, you'll still get paid if you're the upline. You're still going to get paid if you're the upline. And then, Hugh, you'll like this. You'll like this, buddy. Even if you sponsored Dave, okay? You sponsored Dave. Dave sponsored Pauline, Martha, and Ralph, and placed Ralph in Pauline's organization, okay? So Ralph might now be on your 2nd or your 3rd, maybe even your 4th level. And you say, well, what about that monthly subscription? All right, because this unilevel is going to have, so many levels of pay. Well, here's the thing, Hugh. You're going to get a generational match on Dave's monthly subscription income. So it doesn't matter where Dave placed Ralph. The fact is that as Dave gets a monthly subscription income, you are going to get a percentage of that as a check match. So, Queen, I could see in time, strategically, all right, I could see how a person that maybe who's qualified for, let's say, 8 levels. I could see strategically how a person could say, you know what, the next person I bring aboard, I'm going to put them in an organization and put them on my 8th level. That's going to feed all these people above. Now I'm going to make them work for me placing that person on the 8th level. I'm going to run a contest. Not just, I'm going to run a contest. And someone's going to win, but I could see that happening in time, Queen. I could see that happening in time. And then while we're pushing, that pushes more revenue to the company, more revenue to the company, more revenue to the company. And even my Joe Average, who never says, doesn't feel like he can partake in the contest, doesn't feel like he could win a contest, doesn't even go for it. But if we're all pushing, but some of us are pushing and pushing and pushing, pushes more revenue to the company, that starts to show up in our daily rewards. Powerful. Next question. International. There'll probably be some countries, typically Iran. Maybe I don't know about China. But there's North Korea, probably not. Iran, probably not. Just because those are more challenging markets because of the geopolitical system, so on and so forth. But yeah, it'll be international. Next question. Okay, monthly subscriptions. I'll go with monthly subscriptions first and foremost. There's going to be a $15 a month. There's going to be a $50 a month, $100 a month, $200 a month. Now, obviously, this is where everybody eventually wants to be. Not everybody's going to be able to start off there, obviously, but this is where everyone eventually wants to be. So whether a person can start off there or a person builds as their profits begin to grow. Why is this also important? Okay, this is very, very important. Remember, I said that what goes into the revenue sharing model is a number of different income streams the company has. All right, so as more and more people eventually jump up to the $200 a month, and there are some reasonings why people are going to want to do that sooner rather than later. As more and more people do that, then that generates more revenue for the whole organization. Remember, if I place somebody, by the way, Queen, I can just about tell you that if I'm going to place somebody in someone's organization, the person I'm placing them under will be a $200 a month person. Okay, all right. So now what just happened? That generated more revenue for the company, for the field. More of that goes through the structure in terms of the daily or the monthly payouts, as well as the company has more that it can put into the daily revenue. Now, in terms of the packages that you purchase, I don't know what the smallest is going to be. It'll probably be in that $100, $150 range, something like that. From everything I'm hearing, and I have not heard them change this at all, from everything I'm hearing, the top package will probably be $2,500. The attorney is not comfortable with a $10,000 purchase. However, with that $2,500 package, you'll be able to purchase as many of those as you would like, so long as you have given away 70%, used or given away 70% of the inventory of that package. So what folks will be able to do is they'll be able to, I think there's going to be like a e-wallet on the inside, where if I sent in funds to my e-wallet, that sits in there, I can see that, and I can then take money from my e-wallet and go and purchase a $2,500 package as an example. So I could, if I wanted to fund that e-wallet with $10,000, I could do that. I could fund it with $20,000. I could fund it for $50,000 if I wanted to. I just can't go and buy $10,000 worth of packages today or $20,000 worth of packages today. What I could do is I could fund my e-wallet with the 10, the 15, the 20, whatever my resources happen to be. And remember, we're going to all raise our hand and pledge not to hurt our families, all right? And then what would happen is if I did a $10,000 of my e-wallet, then I could buy the first $2,500 package, give away enough inventory, then the system will allow me to come back and buy another $2,500, then another $2,500, then another $2,500. By the way, why is that going to be important? Because I believe there's going to be a lot of folks that will eventually purchase more than what some of us have been familiar with in this industry, where people would purchase a 10 or 12-5 package. I believe people are going to purchase more over time, and that makes this even more important, because what if someone places Ralph in your organization and Ralph makes another $2,500 purchase? Then he makes another one. Then he makes another one. Then he makes another one. And you're getting an override. And he makes another one. And another one. Okay? So I don't know what the package options are going to be, other than I've consistently heard this would be the top. Okay? Next question. This being 2,500. Okay? Oh, it is? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow at 2 p.m., we will do a condensed version of what we've just done at 2 p.m. Eastern. It'll be on this same webinar link. If you want to come again, you want to send your folks again, send them to joinwebinar.com. They would then put in the same webinar ID that we're using tonight, which is 196-516-114. We will be sending another post out to our audience early in the sometime in the morning, to remind you and to also send you the link. Now, this, I'm giving you the condensed version. What you have in your email is like gotowebinar.com / and a whole bunch of numbers. This is the condensed version if you just want to get this out to any of your teammates. Remember, those of you that are following us, well, we already have an existing model in place. I'm not going anywhere. None of our leaders are going anywhere. All right, we're simply adding another very powerful element, and I hope now you're really excited about having the multiple streams, but there being enough similarities in the revenue sharing model where you're not going to be a deer stuck in headlights, but being enough differences in the models where there's a reason to have your feet firmly planted in both, or some of you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 17 other different things you've got going on. All right, so that's going to be tomorrow. Now, tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing an everyday can be payday webinar. This is our generic version of a presentation webinar for you and your guests. This is a phenomenal way to get guests acclimated and buying into the whole concept of a revenue sharing model without talking about any specific company. Then as they connect back with you, you can let them know which specific company or companies you are promoting. Our aim is to help you make money. I don't care where you make money. Well, I do care where you make money. I love you to make money with something that we've got going on. But the bottom line is I want you to make money. And I want you to do the right things with that money when you make it. And so whether you are promoting companies that we are promoting or whether you're promoting something else, we want to see you make money. And so this is our gift to our audience and even folks that aren't even a part of our team. Every day can be payday webinar. And as a matter of fact, that is the URL for you to register for that particular webinar. Those of you that in times past, we have done a company-specific webinar on Mondays and Wednesday nights, you are already registered. It's the same webinar link. We just tied it to a different domain name. Every day can be payday webinar. Okay, that's for you to be able to invite guests so that they can buy into the revenue sharing model concept, then get back with you and find out what revenue sharing company or companies you are promoting. Those of you that are with a specific company that we promote, there should be a company conference call or company webinar tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. So you'd want to check your back office and get that particular webinar link. We will send out that webinar link to that specific audience in our email on tomorrow. With that being said, we love each and every one of you. Want to thank Queen for being with us. Want to thank Dave for being with us. Everybody else on the other side. We'll be sending out a post on last Friday's webinar that we recorded. Some of you have already gotten that, so you can view that if you have not seen that. We'll be working on getting this post from tonight up. It's going to take us a little bit to get it all rendered and all that good stuff, so give us a few days, but we'll let you know once that's done. With that being said, when this company is ready for launch pre-registration, please remember, it's not just a company, Queen. It's a movement.